If I'm going to be honest, Gemini 3.1 is not that remarkable of a model. It's very, very smart. It benches super well, but it's still kind of bad at calling tools and doing things. But the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because I think it's super emblematic of why Google is struggling right now and just doesn't feel like a super real contender in the AI race. I know I've seen the artificial analysis chart too. They have the compute, they have the models, they have the data, they have the everything, but it's still not turning into anything useful. The Gemini CLI is still a complete and utter shit show. The model still struggles in weird, bizarre ways, which I'm going to show off. And to illustrate this point, I wanted to start by going through and putting the big three models up against each other. I've got Gemini running, I've got Sonnet 4.6 running, and I have Codex 5.3 running, all of them accomplishing the same task of trying to migrate an existing Tanstack start site to start using ShadCN, do some UI updates, and get everything working. We're going to see how this turns out when it's done, but while it's running, one thing that I did want to talk about first is the Gemini CLI, because I wanted to use the Gemini CLI for this test. I thought it'd be fair to give each of the models their like dedicated good harness. But when you install the Gemini CLI, which was really bad and dumb, I'll show you that in a second too, it takes forever to load, it finally loads, and now that it's loaded, I go into /model, I take a look at this, and there's no Gemini 3.1 in here. 3.1 Pro, Google's brand new flagship model, is available in Cursor, it's available in OpenCode, it's available over API, it's not available in their official fucking CLI. I cannot fathom sometimes what Google is doing with software. It is so unbelievably bad. Like when I went to install the Gemini CLI, I needed to log in. I logged in with my Google account, all fine. I get greeted with this message where I have to restart the CLI in order to get auth working because you can't authenticate and then keep using it. You have to restart the CLI for some reason. Even my dumb little toy CLI that I built for a side project called BTCA has working authentication right out of the box. If I do /connect and I connect to a new provider and I log in with them, the TUI doesn't have to be restarted. I don't know how they can't even do that right. And when you log in with the CLI, you get redirected to this Gemini Code Assist docs page. Instead of like a normal redirect page like you would get with any other model or product, you get a Google Docs help page because I'm assuming internally at Google, they couldn't get a new HTML file shipped anywhere else, so they just had to go with this. Google is a dinosaur. They are very, very bad at software. If you've been around at all, you've probably seen my anti-gravity crash out. We're not reliving that or talking about that. But even though they're not that great at software, the model still is good, and there is still some really cool stuff to talk about with it. Although there is one thing that is really good at software, and that is today's sponsor. One of the only future predictions I am comfortable making is that sandboxes are going to get more and more valuable as time goes on. And that's why I'm so hyped about Daytona. They are the sandboxing platform right now. It's the one that I am building all my stuff on, and they're just incredibly easy to work with and use. I mean, if you just look at this code example, all it takes to spin up a sandbox is to create the sandbox with their TypeScript SDK, which is fully open source, by the way, which makes it incredibly easy to learn for both you and your agents. But you've heard all this before. I want to show you how good these sandboxes really are by showing you an early version of something that I haven't released yet, will hopefully have out soon, where when I send this message up, it's going to create a new sandbox within 0.9 seconds, and during the stream, the agent was able to clone a Git repo for just bash, then it did a bunch of tool calls for listing files, globbing files, reading files, and gave me an actually good answer down at the end here because of everything it was able to do with the sandbox. But if I didn't put this piece up here, you wouldn't have even known that it was coming from a sandbox. The best frontier model on the planet right now has a higher startup time than a Daytona sandbox. And the reason why is because their snapshotting primitive is so damn powerful. That sandbox I showed you has Node and Bun and Git and ripgrep and a bunch of other stuff preloaded onto it, so it doesn't have to pull all of this down every time. It just spins it up, does the job with insane performance, a really good price, and frankly, if you're not using Daytona yet, you really should be. Go check them out at davis7.link/Daytona. Normally, I don't care that much or talk that much about benchmarks. I'm going to briefly here, entirely because that seems like what Google's whole shtick is at this point. Their models are really good at benchmarks. Like the artificial analysis intelligence index came out. This is their full post. It'll be linked down below. I highly recommend like reading through the whole thing. But if you look at it right here, Gemini 3.1 Pro Preview is scoring 57 compared to Opus 4.6's 53. 5.3 Codex isn't out over API, so we don't know where that's going to land. My gut feeling is that it should be around this, but still, like, This is clearly a very smart model. They packed a lot of intelligence into this thing. Another one that they crushed is the Design Arena SVG arena, where the models create a bunch of SVGs and then get ranked. And Gemini 3.1 Pro is dominating this one. It's really, really good. You can see the example of what it made is very impressive. This is the 3.1, this is the Sonnet 4.5, this is the Mistral one, and this is Grok 4.1 fast. Like, the difference between these is insane. Clearly, there is something good happening with this model. It just kind of seems to fall apart in real world use. Another benchmark it did remarkably well on was the convex benchmark, basically giving the models a little bit of extra rules for how to write good convex code, and then seeing how well they can handle data modeling, queries, mutations, actions, whatever. You can see that in the score here, it's one of the only models that's getting 100% in a lot of categories. 4.6 is getting 100% here, 4.5 is getting 100% here, 3 Pro is getting 100% here. On paper, this model should be the best model, but it's just kind of not. One other benchmark that's pretty near and dear to my heart is the Svelte bench, benchmarking how well these models can write and handle Svelte code out of the box. Gemini 3.1 Pro Preview is one of the 4 models that has reached 100% score on this. I remember like 6 months ago, basically no models were even close to 100%. It's really cool to see that these are now actually benching well on Svelte code. I think that's just a matter of time and more training data and stuff like that, but still, it's one of the 4. And the other 3 are Anthropic models, which generally speaking are the ones that do super well with newer, less training data heavy technologies like Svelte, Convex, Effect, whatever. Clearly, there's a lot of knowledge in here that's making this actually work. And I know it sounds like I'm kind of dogging on Google here, just calling them benchmaxing and not actually doing anything useful, but that's not true. I have actually been getting a lot of really good use out of Google models. You can see here in my OpenRouter usage, I used an insane amount of Gemini 3 Flash on the 31st. It was a huge spike because I had to do an internal project for Theo and I. We needed to go through all of our emails and classify them based on what they actually are, how important they are, what they're talking about, blah, blah, blah. I benchmarked like 6 different models, I'm pretty sure. OSS 120B, Haiku 4.5, 3 Flash, GLM 5, Minimax, and I think that's it. I think that's all the ones I did. And it was very clear from the benchmarking I did, 3 Flash was the best at doing this. 3 Flash is a really, really good model for taking some data, giving it to the model, and having it spit out some shape or analysis or whatever on it. It can do some really cool stuff with that. It can do really good things with like the YouTube API. That works super well. It works really well with multimodal stuff. It's not a bad model. It just doesn't have very good discernment. A really good comparison right now is Gemini 3.1 Pro and Claude Haiku 4.5. These are 2 models that don't seem like they would have anything in common, but they're actually polar opposites, where Haiku 4.5 is pretty stupid. It doesn't know very much. It doesn't bench super well. It's just kind of a whatever model, but it's a really good workhorse for calling tools and figuring shit out and just following instructions. And it's really good to the point where when I was building out the web version of BTCA, a project I've been working on where you can load in a Git repo or NPM package or whatever and have a model search through it to give you up-to-date context on something, I picked Haiku for the production model that you use in the web service because it's really good. It's a great balance of speed. It can handle the tools really well. It can search really well. It's a great model for that kind of thing. It's just not all that smart. I tried really hard to get Gemini 3 Flash to work in this because I thought that would be the perfect model for it. It just wasn't. I've done some internal benchmarks on this that I'll release at some point soon, hopefully, that pretty clearly painted Gemini as not very good at doing stuff like this, versus you can see Haiku gave me a really good answer here. It's giving me good code snippets. It was able to glob and read very efficiently. That's something that I've noticed a lot of models can struggle with, where they'll do too many tool calls. Haiku can handle doing fewer tool calls and doing them right. Gemini 3.1 is the direct opposite. It can't do that. It is not good at calling tools and running in a loop. Earlier today when I was testing it on one of the tools that I'm building right now, I had it do a thing. It started doing the thing. It seemed to be doing it pretty well. I tabbed out, went to go do something else. I came back a half hour later and it was just hanging on taking longer than expected. I don't know if this is the model falling apart, if their API fell apart, what ended up happening here, but it just crashed halfway through. And I've had that happen in probably about 20% of the runs I do with it. It'll just flat out fail halfway through for no reason. It'll randomly quit the loop. I noticed this with 3 Pro when I was testing it back with the anti-gravity stuff. It will malform tool calls in bizarre ways. it's just not good at running within a harness. While we were talking about that, the jobs are now all finished. Gemini ended up taking about 7 minutes. Claude 4.6 Sonnet ended up taking about 9.5 minutes. I don't know how long Codex took because it didn't actually show me the final duration here, but I'm guesstimating it probably took 7-8 minutes, something around there. But let's see how these actually worked. Gonna start with Gemini. Let's do bun dev web, see how we're looking here. And well, already seeing some issues. The prompt that I gave it was to add in shadcn, set up the dark mode toggle, use the shadcn components instead of just like weird custom built components, set up a command, like a global search command instead of like the search bar I had at the top of the page beforehand, and convert the like videos page to, instead of being a long list, be an actual grid. And you can see with what Gemini did here, it's not great. The light dark mode toggle does work, but dark mode is not set up correctly. So we're just gonna go back to light mode, see how this looks. Cards are in a pretty bizarre state here, not looking great. Let's see if the menu worked. If I go over to my channel, that's not my channel. This is not me, Google. Google definitely hallucinated what the channel was, which fair, but that's not me. Let's see the Theo channel. Okay, so that one was correct. So it did get that one, which is not what I actually meant. But we can go into the Theo Explorer. That worked. Let's go into my Explorer. That worked. Let's search up 5.3. Search does not seem to be working here. I think that is broken. So yeah, overall, not particularly impressed with the output on Gemini, but let's see how the other ones did. We'll do Claude next. Bun dev web. And already it's looking much better. This is the Claude version. Cards actually seem correct. Dark mode toggle actually works correctly. The channels here, if I go over to my channel, that works correctly. If I search TypeScript, yep, this is already looking way better. Future of TypeScript. Nice, yeah, so already right out of the box, Sonnet did a much better job on this task, even though hypothetically 3.1 is the best model in the world, it benches the best. Clearly you can see it is not the best. And then finally, let's do Codex, bun dev web. And it seems like Claude did a much better job. This is the Codex version. The nav bar is very, very weird. This is pretty broken. Toggle this. Yep, that's fine. Breadcrumbs are okay. Let's see if I do the search. If we go to this, that goes to the actual channel. Then if I go to this, okay, so I guess those are okay. Let me search up Gemini. Oh, so it wants me to do the search this way. This isn't great, not loving that. That's fine, but not exactly what I was looking for. So clearly of the three of these, the one that I would and will actually keep is definitely going to be the Claude version. But that does line up with the testing and experience I've had, where 5.3 Codex is the best workhorse model for just getting shit done and building complex systems and working in real code bases. Claude is really, really good at UI for some reason. Even without the front-end design skill, it's still just really good at handling front-end tasks. They've really stepped up their game on that one. I remember back in like the Sonnet 4 days, it was not good at that at all. And then Gemini just kind of, I don't know, it exists. It's a thing you can use hypothetically, but I cannot imagine actually using this in any day-to-day coding work. It just doesn't make any sense. I did have a test I ran earlier today where I've been working on like an internal toolkit for SvelteKit stuff. This is not ready yet. It's not released. I will talk about it in the future when it is ready, hopefully. But I wanted to add kind of like a React scan type thing to Svelte to make it easier to see and understand how the signals are working, debugging performance issues, infinite loops, stuff like that. You can see for the initial version, which was created with Codex, it was highlighting state changes within the little helper menu that I added to the bottom right-hand corner of the screen here, where it was like showing all of these mounted. I don't want that to happen. I don't want these to flash in there. I only want to see these flashes within the actual UI. So the prompt I gave it was, hey, can you fix the UI on this to not be trash, because it was pretty bad because 5.3 made it. And then also investigate why the render UI is appearing within the monitor. The boxes should never appear around elements in the box. To be fair, I did give it the solution here. Like I gave it the idea to add a special ID to all of the elements that would forbid it from actually rendering the highlight boxes around those elements. It pretty quickly made the actual changes that did fix it. It got the right solution here, but then it went through and did a lot of testing. It seems to have the same instinct that 5.3 has, where it wants to be very thorough and test everything and make sure it's doing everything right, but it's taking it to an extreme that's not good. For this thing here, I don't need it to install Playwright. Like it was going through and installing Playwright, making new tests with Playwright, doing a bunch of nonsense there. And then this is about where it ended up crashing earlier and just fell apart because the model's weird and bad. I kept doing a bunch of testing, kept going, blah, blah, blah. Did a bunch of changes. Like all these changes are just to tests. It was just massaging its tests for a while. I don't think it ever actually changed the real code after this point. Oh no, okay, so it did add console logs. So this is interesting. Like it is clearly trying to fix itself here, where it's running the test, it's adding a console log, running the test again to see what the output of that is, and then continuing to go down this thread. This is a very similar behavior to what 5.3 Codex does. It just seems to be doing a much worse job of it, which is annoying. But finally, we got to the end of it here. It did it. There was still a slight issue on it with the mounting boxes. I gave it one more prompt like, hey, fix this. Made one change, ran the tests, seemed to be fine, got the actual correct answer in the end, did a little bit of UI updates, and now the end result of this is whenever I increment this count, you can get a little flash of like what signals are getting re-rendered within the DOM. And you can open up this little menu here and see a feed of all the changes that happened. So like count got changed, double got changed, count got changed again. So like I hit this again, count got changed from 7 to 8. You can look at the variables here. So we've read count 16 times because count is getting read here and count is getting read here. And then this is reading doubled, so that doesn't count as a read. So we have 16 reads, 8 writes, 8 reads, 0 writes, 8 reads, 0 writes because these are derives. But like it works. It got the job done, which is good to see. You can use this for real work. I just don't think it's that good. I think this chat from Maria pretty much sums up my thoughts on Google and Google models right now, that Gemini 3.1 is state of the art on paper, but very clearly, based on everything I've tested and seen from other people, it is not state of the art in day-to-day work. The only two models and labs that seem to really be at the frontier of the best are OpenAI and Anthropic right now. A lot of the Chinese labs are catching up. Like Kimi 2.5 is a very good model that can do a lot of things you wouldn't expect it to be able to do. It's definitely crossed a threshold of usability far beyond the stuff we had 6 months ago. It's probably the closest of the Chinese models. Minimax 2.5 is pretty good. I've tested a decent amount. I don't love it. It's not the greatest model ever, but it's fine. It's usable. But they just do not compare to OpenAI and Anthropic. I think kind of the reality right now is these are the two players that are really winning. If you want the best of the best, those are your only two options. They both have their trade-offs right now. I still think that overall 5.3 Codex is the God model. It's the one that I use for pretty much everything but UI at this point. Still not in the API, which really sucks. I really want API access to 5.3. There's so much stuff I want to build with it, but we'll get that soon, I'm sure. And I think that's just kind of the thing with Google in general right now in the AI world. We've all seen this chart. They have the hardware, they have the inference, they have the foundation models, they have the applications. They should, on paper, be the best, but they just aren't in reality. Maybe they'll catch up, who knows? But having dealt with a lot of Google software over the years, I really think that that might be where they get killed, is just their software is so unbelievably bad. The idea of Google releasing something as high quality as like the Codex desktop app is hilarious. They won't do it. Like we've all seen anti-gravity. We've all tried anti-gravity. It's not very good. Most people just use it as an inference farm because the actual application isn't good. It is a lobotomized weird version of Windsurf, versus OpenAI has this really, really good desktop app. Anthropic has Claude Code, which does have a lot of problems. I feel like Claude Code has not been doing well over the last couple months. It has definitely taken a nosedive in quality, and they really need to correct that if they want to remain competitive, at least here. And they've been doing a bunch of weird, obnoxious shit with like the Max subscription and the Agents SDK. And that's not what this video is about. Go watch Theo's video on Sonnet 4.6 if you want to see that. But still, they have competent harnesses. Their models can work in competent harnesses. Google's can't. And to be clear, I'm not particularly happy about this. I want Google to be competitive because I want all three of these labs to have a real chance of winning the AI race so that we have actual competition here. I'm getting a little bit worried right now that at least in the coding and like agentic systems world, which is what's going to start doing a lot of stuff for the next couple of years, there's two very real options right now. OpenAI and Anthropic are in a tier of their own. Nothing can currently compete with them. That could change. Things have been changing insanely fast. But the fact that 3.1 Pro didn't do anything to close the gap between them and Anthropic and OpenAI is concerning. Because at this point, it's basically one of these two is going to win. And the reality is, in this AI race, it's going to be pretty winner takes all. I've already started to see and feel this with 5.3 Codex. 5.3 Codex is kind of the everything model for me, where if I want to do searching and quick tasks, it's so damn smart that even if it is on paper a little bit slower, it'll just like get the thing done to the point where even if the TPS is only like 40 compared to another model's 80, if it does half the tool calls and half the thinking and just does the thing because it knows how to do it, it still ends up being faster. So I'm using it for small tasks and I'm using it for the really big complex workflows. It feels like we are slowly but surely creeping into a place where there's just going to be a one model to rule them all type situation. Even OpenAI's 5.3 Codex Spark model, which is their new, maybe smaller, I don't actually know what the model is. I assume it's a smaller version of 5.3 Codex, but it's their version of Codex that is running on Cerebrus hardware. It's absurdly fast. It gets like 200 to 250 TPS, but when you actually use it, it behaves like a really smart child who was given way too many stimulants and drugs. Like, imagine you gave a genius cocaine. That's what using this model feels like. Like, if you look at this benchmark I did on BTCA, one of my tools, when I was using 5.3 Codex on it, it took on average 20 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 14 seconds, very few tool calls, all good. This guy ended up taking longer, even though it's faster, because he was doing 34 tool calls, 22 tool calls, 41 tool calls. Like, I can just run this real quick and show you. So I'm just going to ask it, what are remote functions? How do I use them? It's going to load all the resources in, start thinking. It's going to do a lot of tool calls. 2 lists, 1 grep, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then let's pull up another one here. Let's do /connect, OpenAI 5.3 Codex, same exact prompt. Like, the response should already be out by now, but it is still doing tool calls. And then it blasts in. It's really, really fast, but it was just schizoing in circles forever versus 5.3 Codex. Yeah, it's printing out slower than that one did, but the total time was 14 seconds versus 27 seconds, 200 TPS versus 60 TPS. The fast model doesn't feel or look nearly as compelling at this point. But again, even with all the speed we get with this guy, it's still way more expensive. Like in my Codex usage, I've gone through similar amounts of tokens between the two of these, even though I use Spark a lot less. It just uses more tokens to do the same exact thing. Like you can see, the tokens in, it did 300,000 tokens in. 5.3 did 9,000 tokens in. And I feel like over time, when we get GPT-6 Codex, is there going to be any need for anything else? That's my concern. My concern is that there's not going to be enough competition for these big labs at this point because Google can't get their shit together. The Chinese labs are perpetually 6 months behind. Grok is a clown fiesta. Meta is a burning dumpster fire. And Anthropic has their heads so far up their ass that they can't even see what the world is right now. So like, I feel like all these labs are just doing everything they can to hand OpenAI the win on a silver platter. But I don't know. We'll see. All this is my feelings right here, right now. All of this could change. God knows in the last month, I've gone from thinking OpenAI was trash, I didn't like any of their models, and Opus was the best thing ever, to, oh shit, 5.3 Codex exists and it's the greatest thing ever. Like, these things can flip on a dime. Who knows? Maybe Meta's got something crazy that they're going to come out with. Maybe Gemini 3.5 Pro will just get hard RL'd on tool calls, and it'll suddenly be able to run in loops super effectively. We have no idea how this is going to turn out. This is just how it is right here and now. I don't know. Sorry for the rambling. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you want to watch something else, there will be like a couple videos up on screen, and go click on one of those.